It actually happened. It's real. It actually happened. I did not expect this. I have too much energy. I'm burning it all right now. Even though there's no activity rings to burn, Apple is switching to RCS. That doesn't sound real. Is this a dream? Let me pinch it. It's real. The timing of this is hilarious. But yeah, basically Google and many other carriers, many other smartphone companies have been advocating and pushing for Apple to support RCS for many years now. And Tim Cook's classic response, other than "good morning," was merely just a simple buy an iPhone. If you want to have better security or a better texting experience, it doesn't matter that the rest of the world has come up with a way for phones from all kinds of different manufacturers to send media, send pictures and videos at a higher quality, to send texting animations, like to let people know that, hey, the person you're talking to is working on a response, read receipts, delivered receipts, reactions, the ability to send your location and to leave group chats. All of those options have been possible through RCS and through iMessage, but Apple just wanted to keep on relying on old dated SMS for all of this time until finally now. For some reason, Apple decided today that they wanted to announce RCS support is coming later in 2024. We don't know exactly how much later that is, whether it's an iOS 18 thing or could potentially launch in the spring, who knows? But I feel like, honestly, the timing has something to do with nothing, okay? The actual company that was boasting about getting iMessage support on an Android phone thanks to using a third-party service that basically signs you into an Apple ID on a Mac on some server somewhere so that you can pretend that you have an iPhone. And I think because there was just a major company that clearly had, you know, a decent amount of media following, straight up advertising that you could have iMessage integration on their product, and I don't know, maybe Apple couldn't think of a great way to shut this whole thing down without looking bad. So maybe they just decided, okay, our best course of action, especially after the European Union has been forcing Apple to do lots of things like adopt USB-C, but also there's a good chance they may be forcing them to open iMessage in the not too distant future, as well as allowing side loading. A lot of those software features may end up being restricted to certain regions, so that might not necessarily come to the US, but Apple probably just felt all of this government pressure surrounding them, as well as all of the businesses pressuring them to support RCS, and realized, okay, you know what, if we have to save face and make sure we look good in the media and make it look like we support open standards, then getting on board with RCS kind of kills off a lot of the complaints that people are going to have about how iMessage encourages people to bully Android users by making the Android experience so much worse, so that if one person in the group chat does not have an iPhone, everything breaks. And while I don't necessarily think this is going to change all that much, because RCS people are still likely going to be green bubbles, and that color stigma of like, hey, you don't have an iPhone thing is still going to be there regardless of if Apple supports RCS or not, this certainly does kind of offload a lot of that responsibility and offload a lot of that stigma that, hey, you know, Apple, I think you're banking on people like criticizing you if you don't have an iPhone. And essentially, I think Apple was kind of gatekeeping a lot of iMessage features and trying to convince non-iPhone users that, hey, this is why texting sucks if you don't have an iPhone, where in reality, there were definitely solutions out there that would have allowed the Android iPhone communication experience to be better. It was just up to Apple whether or not they wanted to support RCS, and now they have finally caved and admitted to it. So we're still not entirely sure if Apple's going to be relying on the Google hosted version of RCS or on carrier versions, but regardless of what Apple does, I think that this will improve the texting experience for everybody. Obviously, if all your friends and family members still have iPhones, pretty much nothing changes, but for all the people you text that don't have iPhones, you should be able to send them pictures and videos at much higher quality, much higher bandwidth, and you can still get read receipts, delivered receipts, and the group chats shouldn't break anymore for the people that have more than just iPhones in that group. For one, you can leave it if you so desire thanks to RCS, and simultaneously you can also react to messages in the group chat without having to worry about the whole liked to and then the giant paragraph showing up, which honestly I think makes just way too much sense for Apple anyway, because after reviewing a few Android phones this year and using RCS myself, I've discovered that Google, for the most part, kind of fixes all of those emoji breaking of SMS. Like, it will understand that the liked to and then the whole paragraph message has come in, and it will just condense that down and put a thumbs up emoji on whichever group chat. So really, the broken group chat experience was only showing up to the iPhone users. It was not really that big a deal for the Android user, which is why, in my opinion, it's like, this isn't convincing convincing anybody to switch to iOS. All this is doing is motivate iPhone users to complain about Android users, which honestly, whether or not that was effective, it's just kind of an unethical business practice. And I've been saying for a while now that I think Apple should support RCS, and I just didn't expect them to announce it in this way. Maybe by announcing RCS now, it kind of makes Nothing feel like they don't have to get their whole Nothing chat service that much higher off the ground. Like Nothing isn't going to have that many exclusives over switching to some other Android phone, because you're still going to have a fairly high quality texting experience even if you move to Android from iOS. So this kind of just killed that project before it really got that far off the ground. Now, iMessage still probably has a handful of advantages over RCS. Like Apple will still probably boast about how much more encrypted and safe iMessage is. iMessage also still supports stickers, and FaceTime integration is just built in straight with that app, whereas it's not going to be with other Android texting apps. There's also Apple Pay Cash for sending money through iMessage, and there's little back and forth message gaming options Apple has had built in. So maybe at this point they feel comfortable enough with the native iMessage exclusives that they're okay giving up a lot of those early advantages, like, oh yeah, your pictures and videos can actually be seen after sending them to people. But that's another perk of iMessage that was not present with SMS. You can, with iMessage, send texts over Wi-Fi if cell towers are not available, and you can do that now with RCS as well, whereas you couldn't with SMS. But I'm curious of your guys' perspective. I mean, I personally do not find the whole switching away from iMessage that big a deal. I'm totally comfortable getting by with SMS texting or relying on WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, whatever other messaging services people are using. But are any of you out there, like, that was the biggest barrier for you? Like, you wanted to switch to Android, but you just couldn't withstand losing that iMessage functionality, and maybe with Apple supporting RCS, you would feel more comfortable switching to Android? My guess is not that many of you, but please prove me wrong down in the comments below. If this does actually change things for you, I'd be curious, because I didn't think this was going to be an option in the not too distant future, and now it's official. So all that good stuff, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Soup here. I'll see you all in the next one.